So there we go. I'm very excited to have this live today. Learning from the expert is my whole series, and just really bringing in people who have these gifts to share, who have this passion. And today, Michele Anne is joining me, and we met so I guess my name is Dr. Lana McLaughlin. I'm a naturopathic doctor. And then Michele Anne does Theta Healing, which is something I think more people would benefit. I know more people would benefit from just of understanding what it is and not being afraid of something different. So I just wanted to share her kind of header on Facebook. It says, change your beliefs and change your life with Theta Healing. Release unsupportive energies, belief programs, and patterns while upgrading your consciousness with new patterns and beliefs that will support you in healing your mind, body, and soul. Magic happens when you don't give up. So I think there's so many people that have chronic things happening that we need to elevate. We need to lift our frequency the Hawkins scale of frequency and emotion, like, has a frequency associated with each of the different emotions. And the more we can overcome and process and release some of the lower frequency emotions, then we can operate from a place where we are more in abundance. We are able to reach out and share and help other people feel better, live better, like be healthier. So I would love to hear your perspective and just where did this come from? What got you into this? When did you start?
Okay. So that's typically a long story, so I'm going to try to make it brief. So I started my journey with Theta Healing in 2017. I used Theta Healing and Reiki to heal myself. So when I was born, I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, tied in a knot, lungs underdeveloped, immediately whisked away into an incubator for my first 9 days. So there's that abandonment wound. Okay. And now all the other wounds that start coming on top of that. By the time I was 13, I had developed multiple sclerosis. I went blind in one eye. I couldn't feel the skin on my hands, my feet, my legs. Every time I looked down, I had what's called Lhermitte's phenomena, which is like a shock wave going through your body. And I was told to prepare for a life of pain and a life of discomfort and a lot of really scary things, right? So I went through the depression, put on long-term disability and all that. And by the time I was like 36, I was like, you know what? I'm really sick and tired of being sick and tired all the time. And I know I deserve better and I'm here for more. What am I going to do? So I'd heard about energy healing and I decided, okay, I need to figure this out. So I took it upon myself and I dove into Reiki. And I recognized that, oh, wait, this energy, this is like really, really cool. And now I recognize what I was doing while I was doing this is I was doing the hand positions with Reiki, and I was visualizing this energy recreating the myelin sheath on my nerves. If you know anything about multiple sclerosis, if you imagine like a wire and there's like a short circuit in your wire because like it's like your body eats away at that coating that covers the wire, so you get like a short circuit. So I was imagining that that myelin sheath was regrowing on all of my nerves, and I had nothing else to do because like I was on long-term disability, so why not, right? So that's what I spent my time doing. And then something magical started to happen. I was walking better. I was feeling better. I had more energy than I'd had before. And so I was like, this is interesting. So like, how does it get better? How does it get better? So that's a question I invite everybody to ask. How does it get better? That's a really good question. So, because you ask better questions, you get better answers. So how does it get better? And that's when I came across Theta Healing. And I signed up for my first class and I was really excited. I'm like, I'm telling a new story. I'm healing. I'm doing the thing. And I get there and there's like this long flight of stairs that I had to get down. And I had left my cane in the car. I'd walked with a cane at the time. And I was like, no, I'm telling a new story, new identity. I left my cane in my car. And when I got in and there was like this long flight of stairs and I'm like, oh, Okay. I'm like, you can do this. So I just took my time, did the thing. I sat in the room. Instructor's like, okay, everybody up, let's dance. That was such a critical moment for me because my patterning for the last how many years before that was, I can't dance, I have MS. But something changed. I recognized the ability to tell a new story and to decide what I wanted for myself. So instead of doing what I normally would have done, I chose to stand up, just sway back and forth. It was a small room. Nobody was busting a move, so no one was going to know, right? So I just stood up and I swayed. Something happened in that moment where I decided, the energy changed. The weekend, it was incredible. And I had expected to be spending the following week recovering from this. And to my joy and elation, I was on my third load of laundry by noon. I had so much more energy, and the burning that I had felt in my legs. You know, when you go to the gym and you feel the burn? I had felt that every day of my life. And it was the first time there was no burning happening in my legs. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I started to jump, and I'm like, I even got off the ground. And I'm like, oh, this is incredible. What else is possible? So that started my journey with Theta Healing. And then I just like dove into that and what else? Because I realized most of my limitations were coping mechanisms that I had put in place. Have you ever heard of Gabor Mate? I don't know if I'm saying his name right. um, Dr. Gabor Mate or Mate, I'm not sure, but he has a book and it's called When the Body Says No. And so what I came to realize is that my growing up with extreme lack of boundaries and no privacy, my story made it so that I needed something else to say no for me. And so my body chose to just shut down and use disease to say no because I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have that boundaries. I didn't feel safe. I didn't think I was even allowed to express myself. So my body stepped in for me with these wonderful coping mechanisms, which, yay, thank you, subconscious, for wanting to protect me and keep me safe. However, let's maybe find a better way so that we don't need disease, pain, or all hell to break loose in order for me to create and enforce a boundary. Right? So this led me to realize like how many of us have this trapped emotion in our body, and what is it creating for you? And now that I know how easy it is to just move the energy, because we can all do this. Like the human mind can direct energy, and energy goes where your attention goes. So when you put energy with an intention on something, you get to change that. And with Theta Healing, it marries the science of quantum physics with the spirituality, right? Because we go to the creator of all that is, or to source. But we're doing it from a scientific standpoint. If you've ever heard of the double slit experiment in quantum physics.
Mm.
Okay, so what they did, so there's this thing called the observer effect. So scientists, they fired a bunch of electrons or particles through one slit. And the screen and back, it showed, okay, we have the one slit. So they wondered, well, what happens if we put two? So they put two slits up side by side and they fired the particles through it, expecting there to be like two lines on the screen behind it. That's not what happened. It was like an interference pattern. There was all these lines, like there was like hundreds of lines in the back. Like, what is going on? They couldn't understand it. So they created the observer to watch what happens between where the electrons fire and the screen and the slit in the middle. So they're watching to see what happens. When they watch it, it's as though the particles know they're being watched. And instead of doing that crazy pattern, they do what you expect them to do when they are being watched. This experiment has been proven over and over and over again. Like they can't break it. It works every time. So that tells us that the simple act of observation, we get to decide what we want to create. Because when we use our voices, the energy, the particles that's coming out, what do you want to create, right? So now, and this is where I get into what I realized what I was doing with the Reiki, is I recognize now that I was witnessing just like in the quantum physics. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the magic. You command like you direct the energy, you witness it, and then, wow, it's amazing how much power we have to move this energy that has been making us sick, keeping us stuck, keeping us in unwanted areas or spaces, or thinking that we have to put up with certain things. It's just so amazing when you open that door and realize what you're actually capable of.
Oh my goodness, you tied in so many different factors in there from, things that some people may be familiar with Reiki, others not, and some might be like, oh my gosh, I know, like that just seemed weird. But when you bring it down and looking at really is what we're experiencing right now is quantum physics. And it is becoming more prevalent, more talked about, the bioenergetic devices like that. I've used one for, over 10 years. There's new ones coming up that really we are figuring out our bodies are energetic. Our bodies are
Yes.
every organ system, every cell in our body has a frequency. And when it's separated from that blueprint of what an ideal body looks like through our story or experiences or whatever has happened, it creates a distortion. So it makes so much sense when you say, like, what is that story that I'm telling yourself? What have you experienced that you're just like, this is just the way it is, like this is just the way it is. But you have miracle stories where somebody goes in and they have people pray over them, or they go into an energy healer, a theta healer, or a bioenergetic healer, and they come out a whole different person. And sometimes they say you have to be able to believe for things to change. And I think belief has a huge part of that, right? You see
Yes.
something different, but I've also seen it where people are like, oh my gosh, I don't, my daughter's making me come do this with you. Like I've seen it doing my bioenergetic device that I'm just like, I'm coming because she wants me to come. And then all of a sudden one day I'm like doing the frequency therapy and like this guy's eyes open wide up and he's like, I thought you were just touching my foot. I felt something in my foot. And I was like, up here by his chest, like holding this device. And so it is something that even non-believers, like eventually those frequencies will settle in. And it's like acupuncture too. Like, how come one
Yeah.
needle will help open up meridians? It's energy.
Right.
And Einstein even know, like energy before matter. Like if we have the shift in the
Yes.
mindset or what we see, then we can make it concrete in reality. It's really, more basic than what we think of it.
I
So
know. I know. It's like, it's almost like we make it more complicated than it needs to be, because it's like, no, what do you want? Imagine it and you can create it. How can it be that easy? I don't know, but it is, you know? Like, I mean,
I
yes,
think
there's more to
fear.
it than that, but
Yeah. So sometimes it's those emotions, right? The fear or the disbelief, or we are told so much that you go into the doctor with the white coat on who's gone to medical school and then they write you a script and then that's going to make you better, or you just take what they give you and that's going to make you better. So it's giving away your power as well, right? Rather than like with
yes.
naturopathic medicine, we're like, okay, how do we get to the center of this? What are the lifestyle? What can you do by different changes in nutrition, which is increasing the
Right?
frequency you're putting in your body, or supplementation? Because sometimes we do need a physical energy that will then help our emotional or psychological energy. And sometimes it's that
Yeah.
psychological or that emotional energy that then leads back into the physical. It's this integrated process.
It, totally. Totally.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
yours, a perfect example, MS, like is one that is generally like there's not much we can do. Like you're just gonna, this is your
Yeah.
destiny. And there are so many labels like that.
Oh, yeah.
Then what is better out there for me? And if you put that in there of like, what do I have that I am grateful for? Because we do,
Right.
even in those situations, like there's things, you have your mind, you have research, there's technology now that you can say, what if there is something better? What are other people doing if you're open, right? And
Exactly. And being open to possibilities too. Like, not everything needs a drug to fix it. Because a lot of times, like, I posted a thing one time when I got off all my medications and I was doing really well healing. And I looked at all the I have a bag about this big. And I actually
yeah,
posted it because I'm like, oh my God, like that's like what my 90-year-old grandma would have. And like, I was able to cut out all of that stuff. And I'm like, holy cow. So like everything from like the MS, the asthma, the allergies. I had a vaccine injury prior to that. And it was like, oh my gosh, like the stuff that I have witnessed being able to heal. And a lot of it is just that resistance, that fight that we have in our own body. Like when I tap into somebody energetically, it's really interesting. There are people, and I used to be one of them. If I tapped into my inner world, it was like a little bar fight was going on. So this group of me wanted this, and then this part said, no, it has to be like this. So there was like all these fightings. And when I stopped and tuned into it, those voices, they were like voices from my parents, different church services I attended, or things that I'd heard all from outside of me. None of them were really my truth, but they were affecting me so, so badly. So when I take the time and I'm like, okay, and like just sit with the things you believe, like what do you believe is impossible and why? Why do you believe that? Is it because somebody told you that? Like something I'm working on right now, cellular degeneration. Everybody believes that as we age, our cells degenerate and, we get old and all that. I don't believe that has to happen. We're in a new paradigm. And with theta healing, I can witness the telomeres on DNA grow and extend, right? So why not? We can pull, like, there are programs for aging. We can combat that. So I like to think that that's where I'm kind of putting my energy now. And why not? Because like we get to play. Like that's another thing I've learned too is when I find triggers or when something upsets me or I find that thing, it doesn't scare me or upset me anymore because now I know, oh, that's what I need to heal so I can move forward without that gross feeling that I really would prefer to live without. So I welcome triggers now because it shows me exactly what my next step is to move forward.
Ah, I love that. Yeah, that whatever presents in front of you is usually the mirror of what we're needing to work on. And then it's the how, which is what you work on, is the how to do that. Because I feel like that is so out there of like, okay, the emotion code, the body heals itself, there is so much literature and well grounded that people are using and trying and muscle testing and things like this and just listening to the body and then it's that step forward of like, okay, I'm just not getting it myself and reaching out for the
Mm,
support for somebody who does. And I know I've
yeah.
heard of others working through theta healing. For somebody in that we both know, and she mentioned migraines. She had chronic migraines and then worked with you
Mm,
and was able to clear those and no longer has migraines now.
I
So it's
know.
something like MS to migraines to like XYZ. If it's something chronic that seems like a pattern,
Yes.
then there's an energy to it usually. It's not a physical body thing. It's something we need to go beyond that
Hmm.
and figure out when did this start? Like you said, like what is this telling me? What part of me is holding on to something that we're ready to release? And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Some people it's going to
Yeah.
be spiritual and working with God, source, whatever people associate with of like looking for this component and then sometimes we bring people along because we all need community, right? Or somebody who also believes and can support and
Yes.
walks with us on this journey. So I love that you're doing
Absolutely.
that. And what does that look like? So if somebody comes to you with X, Y, or Z in their body. Maybe it's chronic pain or chronic fatigue. Where do you start? How does that journey look from, somebody who
Mm,
might be somewhat skeptical? I feel like there's still a lot of
yeah.
skepticism out there. Like, how do we normalize this?
Okay. Mm. So the very first thing we do is we get grounded. Always step number one. If you've ever seen a live wire, you'll know why, especially we just mentioned we are electric. Okay, we are. They measure our EEGs, our EKGs, all the other things. We are electric. Okay, we need to ground our energy. You've seen frantic, frazzled people out there. Being frantic and frazzled doesn't serve anybody. So when we ground that energy now, instead of it being all over the place, now we can actually focus and gain some clarity. So first, we get grounded. Then from that grounded space, I usually tap into source. I'll ask the questions. I 9 times, well, no, 100 times out of 100, I follow source's guidance because it's not me. Newsflash, I don't do it. It's all source. Okay. And I just allow source to tell me what the person in front of me needs to hear. I ask the questions, like creators will say, ask them this. And so, okay, I ask that. So I just kind of follow the process. So creator guides all of my sessions. um, and it usually starts with, like I said, getting grounded. And then when did it first start? The pain. What was happening around that time? And a lot of times when you feel into that, and most people don't put these things together until they're grounded and can drop in to really feel, when did this start? When was that first little inkling? And when did it start before that? Was there a previous time? Because oftentimes we will find that stemming in childhood and then it just kind of grows over time. Because when you have that when you're a child and you form your beliefs about life, about the world, about yourself, you want to be right. So you will create situations that will continue to prove you right. So if you inadvertently end up with the belief of I'm not worthy, you're going to create a lot of situations that are going to reflect to you how unworthy you feel, right? It's kind of like that law of projection. So whatever's going on the inside gets projected on the outside world. So we get those questions like, what are the projections that you're seeing in the outside world? And as I'm talking, their creator will show, oh, they believe this. So then we do the muscle testing so that I can find out if I'm on the right track. And also when coping mechanisms really escalate, then I really know I'm okay, it's right there. And then, and it's not about taking away your coping mechanisms. No, it's about let's give you the tools that you're missing so that you no longer need these coping mechanisms and you don't need that anger. You don't need the resentment. You don't need that sadness. You don't need that grudge to hang on to that you're using to keep you safe from experiencing more pain, more trauma, sadness, anger, whatever the flavor of the month is, right? So it's like having those boundaries and then enforcing them. And you may notice that my phone keeps ringing while we're talking here. So this is somebody that I keep sending boundaries to. So what happens when you set a boundary with somebody? They're going to test you. Okay. It happens. So then that's where the digging process comes in. Because if I ask you why, what's the worst that could happen if you uphold this boundary? Well, they'll reject me. Okay, well, let's work on that issue. Why would they reject you? Who rejected you? Why do you believe that? Just tell a new story, right? And just like how we can program our future, we can jump timelines and all these manifestation things that we want to do in the future. We can tell a new story about our past too. I had a client one time and she had experienced some dark trauma. And when we explored that, and I really didn't know how to do that, but I just followed creator's like, no, it's okay. Just ask her. And we just stayed present. And what was interesting is she was telling me about how she was called down into the basement before some abuse happened. And so as she was going down the stairs, we were very, very present in that past moment. I know that sounds funny, but we were very present in that past moment. And we changed the story. So instead of what happened, it was like, yeah, no, they're just watching a movie. You sit down, you had popcorn, you went to bed. And even though the reality of it was different, the subconscious was able to accept this, and the relief that she felt in her life and like even her entire family reflected the change. Because like when you change one thing energetic, your energy affects everybody else's energy. So it was really interesting how her changing her story, this one thing, affected her family dynamics, like her generation moving forward and her parents too. So it's just fascinating how we can do this. And now it's like she doesn't have the nightmares anymore. She's been able to release that trauma from her body. And how incredible is that, right? And
Yeah.
another example, I had another client who had endometriosis, which is a boundary thing. Did
So
you know that?
common.
It's very interesting because what's happening with endometriosis is the lining within the uterus is literally growing outside of its bounds. So it's literally a boundary thing, right? And it's just so fascinating when we delve into it and we find out, well, where have the boundaries been lax, and you can just see how it's like all the dots connect. And then when you're finally in that frequency, because healers don't do the healing, what we do is we tap into a frequency and we offer that frequency for the person to receive, and when they match that frequency they receive it, and amazing things happen.
It is their body, yeah. It's like the bioenergetics. You're giving a frequency that the body already knows, but has forgotten to realign with where they were. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, I love that.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing
Yes.
those examples. And because I think it gives there, like, sometimes it is enough to take, have the physical things that we take or we do, or, that releases and is able to reset to overcome. But a lot of times, if there's that pattern coming up, it's like unwinding that story. And, craniosacral therapy, visceral manipulation, similar idea of like unwinding places that there's something stuck there that we have stored. And so that pattern keeps coming up, and it's not until we fully release. So yeah, this is such a valuable tool for people who are looking for, that piece that's missing. It's like, I don't know, I've tried everything, I've gone through all these really deep, intense, like cognitive therapy or rehabilitation, PT and things, and like this, whatever is not getting better. Is there is always like what you said is what could it be better for me, where am I going, that I can
Yeah,
see, that I can journal about. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And making peace with your body. And the other things too is a lot of people, if you've never experienced harmony, you don't know what it feels like. And so you don't even know what you're looking for. Like if you've grown up in a chaotic family and things were always, it was always chaos, you have no idea what peace is or even feels like. And so what I love with Theta Healing is we can offer wisdom, and it's source's wisdom. It's not book wisdom. It is the highest wisdom available that we can call in. And it's not me giving you a dictionary definition. It's again that frequency. So if I was like, okay, would you like sources wisdom on unconditional love, and upgrade your definition to match, right? So then we can do that. So like you may have always believed you knew what love was. If you've ever listened to country music and all the other things out there, it's like, oh, there's a lot of definitions of what love is and they're a little off, right? But offering that higher frequency and allowing you to tap into that, you don't need the words. And I love that it's almost like words are becoming obsolete in some of these things because it's that frequency that we get to tap into and become. And it's
Yes.
just fascinating what we can do. I'm so excited about what the future, because like we're just unlocking this now. Can you imagine what like another 10 years is going to look like? It just fascinates me.
Yes, the limitless potential. And I do love that it can be so simple too. Like what you just said is connecting with those frequencies. When we clear our mind and we stop making everything cognitive and we actually sink into like our heart frequency is measured scientifically the strongest frequency that comes out of our body, and they can measure it outside of our body space. And so if we actually connect with like what message are we actually feeling in here of where we want to be, what we want to be doing, who we are, and then that is who we show up, and that is then also what we attract. And it's work, right? But if you so settling in, I'll say one of the times each week where I truly ground is guiding a meditation Monday mornings that I've been doing for
Mm.
so many years now, with a couple of days used to see in person when we lived in Texas. And that moment of those meditations, sometimes we have 10 minutes, sometimes we have like 45 minutes, but it's really just guiding through. It is connecting with like letting the mind release and just seeing what comes in. And so it doesn't have to be hard. And it might be somebody just journaling each day, like 5 minutes of just like putting a question on paper and seeing what comes to mind. Because that mind is like what you're talking about is source or spirit or God or, what message we're meant to receive. Um, and in some people it is like full meditation or going on retreats, but it doesn't have to be. It can be 5 minutes of silence and receiving can be
Yeah.
the starting place.
Yeah. Absolutely. Setting that intent. And that's actually something that with all of my clients, what I do, like when you get up in the morning, ground, because, okay, we're here. And then I imagine that my day is over. So I go through the planned events of my day. And I just imagine everything going smoothly. If I have to drive anywhere, the highway's clear, there's nobody in my path, I'm on the Autobahn, just everything. I see people that I like, everyone's friendly, there's smiles. And I imagine going to bed and I'm remembering my day, feeling so fulfilled and so grateful for everything that I got to experience in my day. So I do that first thing in the morning. And what I've discovered is by doing that first thing in the morning, my days go so much easier. It's so amazing because it's like that energy precedes matter. So when we put that energy out, it's like paving the way for us. It's guiding our steps. It's like setting that point in your GPS. It's like turn right onto this street, like when your turn is now. It's like it just makes such a difference in that. And then we do like all the energetic works too to make sure that you trust yourself and that you can believe in this and so many things. And so much is possible. We're just opening the door to it now. And it's so beautiful.
Uh, I'm so grateful for you sharing today. And I'm excited because I know you do one-to-one work with people, and then you're also launching a group program. So sometimes it's a cost thing if people can't afford to apply for, use different services or whatnot. And you're doing a group program right now for only $150. Depending if
Right?
people catch this replay, it'll probably be too late, but you are still available. And I'm assuming we'll be doing it again,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
future, but also available for one-to-ones. So we'll put
Yes.
is email the best way for people to reach out to you if they're interested. So it's me,
Yes.
or explain what this group program is or how that works.
Okay. So the group program, 3-month container. So we're going to have 3 90-minute sessions over 3 months where people will come in, going to teach people how to get grounded, connected to source energy. And then we bring that energy into our heart space. And by doing this, it's like creating this new powerful trinity that gets to be your new GPS system. And then teaching people how to use this GPS system. Because a lot of times, and maybe this is just me, but I'm like, I want to do it now, 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 now. I want the end result then. So I always forget that, okay, when I'm setting my GPS, the first thing is turn right onto my street. So like so yeah, learning to read your GPS and understand that. So getting rid of that impatience, that wanting it now, that rush, that pressure, and then learning that's where we're going to bringing in that energy of harmony and realizing, because when you're frantic, you don't believe that you're cared for. Your trust level is a little down because that's the control. Because like you're like, I gotta do the thing, I gotta do the thing. But it's more important to be, because being precedes the doing, right? So by being, then we get to trust that the best action steps are going to pop up. So when it's time to turn right onto that street, that prompt will happen. So if you're not getting prompts, you feel confident and comfortable cruising where you are instead of where's the next turn? Where's the next turn? Where's the next turn? Or what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Because we've always been told, your value is in your doing. Not anymore. We're in a new paradigm. Now our value is in our beingness. And how awesome is that? Right?
Yeah, it is. I definitely connect with that of like moments of like that rush of like getting everybody where they need to be on time and this and that. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
breathe. Somebody mentioned that this
Yeah.
morning of like if we how often we holding our breath during the day, literally through life to where we're just like rather than breathe, it's fine, it's okay. And
Yep.
yeah, that frantic energy
Yep.
of like needing it now versus stop and
Yeah.
smell the roses. Like what
Exactly.
beauty do you see?
Yeah, like because that's why we're here. We are here to enjoy life. And contrary to what we've been told by everybody, right? We are here to enjoy life while learning, growing, and expanding and contributing to life on earth. Absolutely. But the joy is the part that we've missed out on, right? And following your path, your highest joy. And some people, something joyful comes along for them, and it's like, oh, they have to push it away because it's so outside of their comfort zone, right? So this group is really about expanding your comfort zone, learning how to set boundaries, and then dealing with all the energetics that precede the matter, right? So showing you how to set boundaries, making sure you feel comfortable setting boundaries. Maybe you have a belief that prevents you from setting boundaries. Let's find what that is and change it to a different belief. And that's what's so beautiful about it, because when we discover it, we can change it, right? So if you had a belief, let's say, for example, I will be punished for setting a boundary. A lot of people probably have that because every time I can imagine, yeah, if I'd said no to my dad about something he wanted to do, I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. So, right? So right? So knowing that you're allowed to set and then feeling comfortable. And we do the muscle testing too, because this isn't just lip service. We want to make sure your body feels comfortable, right? Because that whole neurology in our nervous system, which is a huge part of our inner child, needs to feel safe, needs to feel heard, and needs to feel valued moving forward. And
Yeah, the
that's what we
biology
do.
of belief, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I
yeah.
love it. We get to change
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
And
you
we
so
will
much.
I'll put your email with it, but do you want to share it as well out loud in case people are catching the video? It should be linked wherever it'll be shared on YouTube and Facebook. And yeah,
Sure. Okay. So you can email me at just the way it's written on the screen down here. www.micheleanne.ca is my email. Or sorry, is my website. Sorry.
perfect.
That's my
Perfect.
website. Yeah, micheleanne.ca. Or you can email me at micheleanne, like it's written down there, at gmail.com.
Perfect. And it's one
Or
L.
you
I
can
keep
find me
wanting
on
to put
Facebook.
two. So Micheleanne. Yeah. Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you
Yes.
so much. And yeah, you bring such value and just amazing opening doors for people who maybe didn't know it existed, and that we can make it simple and something that we can integrate easily and believe.
Mm.
And yeah, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
We'll sign off on Facebook. We'll stop the recording here.